Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Novica Rahmadhani. I'm a student of English Education Department on 5th semester of C class at State Islamic University of Sultan Syarif Kasim Riau. I make this video to fulfill my assignment with Sarnwardi MED of Research and Development in English Language Teaching course. Alright, the material that I will explain in this time is about observation, where all of the material in this explanation is taken by a book entitled Research Methods in Education 6th edition by Louis Cohen Lawrence, Mannion, and Keith Morrison. Okay, first of all, we need to know what is observation in research. Simply, observation is a process of a research where it's such a chance for the researcher to collect the live data from the real social situation that occurs. So, collecting the live data directly. Now, a part of it, through an observation, also the potential to yield more valid or authentic data is bigger than would otherwise be the case with mediated or inferential methods. Okay, we also need to know about this observation, that observation be one of the alternatives to overcome or to avoid the participants who tending to not like to have interview or questionnaire because there are some of them feel or think that having interview or getting questionnaire will consume their time or disturb their time. So observation be one of the alternatives of it. Okay, so what is the possible data that enable the researcher gathers on? Here we go. According to Morrison, there are 4 points to gather data on. One, the physical setting. What is it? For example, the physical environment and its organization. And then the second one is the human setting. For instance, the organization of people, and then the characteristics and makeup of the groups or individual being observed. For the example, gender or class. Okay, the third one, there is in the interaction setting. So what is the example? The example such as the interactions that are taking place formal, informal, planned, unplanned, and else. And okay, last but not least, there is the program setting. For the example, the resources and their organization, pedagogical styles, curricular, and their organization. Okay. Next, we have to know the kind of observation. So there are 3 kinds of observations, where for the first is highly structured observation. This kind will know in advance what it is looking for and will have its observation categorized, work out in advance. And then for the second kind is semi-structured observation. Briefly, this kind will have an agenda of issues, but will gather data to illuminate these issues in a far less predetermined or systematic manner. And we come to the last kind of observations, that is unstructured observation. This kind will be far less clear on what it is looking for, and will therefore have to go into a situation and observe what is taking place before deciding on its significance for the research. Next, let's see the comparison between the quantitative and the qualitative. For the qualitative, it draws the researcher into the phenomenological complexity of participants' words. Here, situation unfolds and connections, causes, and correlations can be observed as they occur over time. While for quantitative research tends to have a small field of focus, fragmenting the observed into minute chunks that can subsequently be aggregated into a variable. All right. And here we go. The suggestion from Flick that observation has to be considered along 5 dimensions. 1. Structured, systematic, and quantitative observation versus unstructured and unsystematic and qualitative observation. 2. Participant observation versus non-participant observation. This point will be explained next. And then overt versus covert observation. For there is observation in natural settings versus observation in unnatural settings. And the last one is self-observation versus observation of others. Okay, so what is structured observation can provide useful numerical data. Let's see the explanation. So there are 3 points that support this statement. The first one, there is the method is behaviorist. Behaviorist, the method. The second one is the individual subjectivity is close to an aggregated score. And the last one is there is an assumption that the observed behavior provides evidence of underlying feelings. So through an observation, the behavior of the individual that we observed will provide the evidence of underlying feelings. Okay, next. Participant observation. In this case, in this part, I want to share to you all about the 3 kinds of participant observation. First, there is the participant as observer. What does it mean? Nah, this is part of the social life of participants and documents and records what's happening for research purposes. That's the brief explanation for the participant as observer. The second one, there is the observer as participant. Nah, like the participant as observer, like the first participant observation, it is known as a researcher to the group and maybe has less extensive contact with the group. So the little bit different with the previous kind, this kind, the researcher has less extensive contact with the group, less extensive contact. Okay, the last kind is the complete observer. Nah, complete observer participants do not realize that they are being observed. So when the researcher is doing an observation, the participant doesn't realize that, oh, they are observed by a researcher. So that is the meaning of complete observer. Okay, for your information, observations include both oral and visual data. In addition to the observer writing down details in field notes, a powerful recording device is through audio-visual recording. So while doing observation, the researcher may to write down what they got to their field notes, or they can use or harness some recording device through audiovisual recording, because that will be the supporting evidence for their research. Okay, here we go, the conclusion. Now, after all of the points that I have explained to you all before, we can conclude that how important an observation is the part of research, because as I said before, that an observation will give the bigger potential in collecting the live data, and then in gathering the more authentic evidence to support your research. Because there is one of experts mentioned that usually what individuals say about their behaviors is different with what they do. So when we do an observation, we look the behavior from an individual of a group, some individuals of a group directly. So we can collect live data based on the real social situation. Now, okay, here is the end of my presentation in explaining the material about observation. I'm sorry for all my mistake. Thank you for your attention, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.